Hello and welcome to Backstory for Session 3 on establishing the context of the Bible story. Context, as most theologians and biblical scholars would say, is everything. In our previous session on key principles for interpreting the Bible story, one of those principles was context. The Bible wasn't written to us, but it was written for us. So to grasp what it means for us in our day, it really is important to understand what it meant to the original audience in their day. Otherwise, we risk interpreting it through a contemporary lens and misinterpreting the story. The book of Genesis, in fact, the first 5 books of the Bible, has a very important context. These books were written by Moses, as Jesus tells us in Luke 24, verse 44, and Moses had an audience to whom he was writing. That audience was the children of Israel. The children of Israel had a very good reason to pay careful attention to what Moses was teaching. This was because God had set them free from slavery in Egypt to live a life on mission with Him in outworking the covenant He had made beforehand with their forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that we refer to as the Abrahamic covenant. In fact, all of Scripture was written for this very same purpose, to mobilize and to prepare God's people in every generation to live a life on mission with God, as Paul tells us in 2 Timothy 3:16 and verse 17, and don't forget verse 17. And you may want to check out verse 17 in the NLE translation. That's very helpful. 2 mobilizing lessons we briefly touched on were, firstly, God through Moses introduced himself to the newly freed Hebrew slaves as Yahweh, his personal or covenantal name that they should know him by. In Genesis 2 verse 4, Moses affirms that Israel's personal covenantal God, Yahweh, is none other than Elohim, the creator of everything, and not some lesser demigod like those surrounding nations had as their covenantal gods. And this foundational teaching of Moses may have influenced later writings such as Psalm 24 verse 1. The earth is the Lord's, Yahweh, and everything in it, the world and all who live in it. For he founded it on the seas and established it on the waters. And secondly, Yahweh through Moses was inviting the children of Israel into his rest, which was all about working with him and not for him. It was for this reason that God had brought them into covenantal relationship with himself, as he has done for us in the New Testament as well, in order to work with him in furthering the outworking of the Abraham covenant that we refer to as the Great Commission. So how can Moses' teaching to the children of Israel in Genesis and the Torah further assist us in the New Testament? Well, that's what we'll continue to explore in our next session, so I'll see you then.